So I'll try really hard to just scoot this way so the line is just not in our way. This is also really off. Everything is wrong with this. Like, it's not even straight anymore. Like, Go check. Go see if the line's on the board. Don't use your hand. Use a towel. Figure it out? Okay. See, like, this is straight. That is not straight. Yeah, there's something wrong. There's something really wrong. I don't know. We'll just have to go with it for today. We'll figure it out. Okay, 2.2 is our topic for today. You trying to figure it out by looking at it? I don't know, Mr. Dawson's gonna have to be our guy. Oh. Okay, well that's kind of fixed. We are gonna be solving one-step equations. Perfect timing, Hunter. Four. Did you have to poop? Did you wash your hands? You sure? Okay, just checking. Well, I'm just saying. Met a lot of teenage boys in the past few years I've taught here. Not all of them wash their hands. Okay, so there's no notes to take. We're just doing practice problems. Now we just have to remember how to solve a one-step equation because this will get harder. Some of you have been doing this on your Alex topics, doing it wrong. Some of you have not been doing it wrong, so hopefully this will be really easy. Also, did we remember to write down what our homework is if we haven't already? Think about that. Putting that out there, right? Especially since if you happen to ever get a snow day, perfect time to actually get there's no excuses for not getting your homework done. Homework only helps you improve your grade. Page 90, 20 through 31. 11 problems. Okay, we're going to start off easy and work our way up. Eventually, we will be on the board. First example. I'm going to write x plus 6 equals 15. That's our equation. That's it. We need to solve this. So remember, when you're solving this, because eventually this will get harder. Right now, you're like, this is so easy, Miss Rinaldi. You always look at the side that has the variable. So over here, we go, okay, it says x is being added to 6. So we want to get rid of this 6, right? What is the opposite of positive 6 or adding 6? Negative 6 or subtracting 6. So we're going to subtract 6 from 6. Do I subtract 6 from x? No, why not? Well, that's, yes, also. What else? Why are 6 and x not something they can go together? They're not like terms, correct, Aaron? On the other side of the equal sign, can we subtract 6 from 15? Because they are like terms, right? Because they're both whole numbers. Remember, when you solve an equation, you have to do the same thing to both sides. So we do this. X is alone, so I'm going to bring down my x. 6, take away 6. What happens when you have 6 and you take it away? Nothing. I had $6. I gave away my $6, which would be silly, right? I got none left. 15, take away 6, 9. That easy, yeah? Okay. Who here did not have to use a calculator to do that? Just checking. It's okay. Just trying to see who can do what. Just looking out. Okay. Similar problem. 5 plus y equals negative 22. So this is a little different. I changed my 5 and my y. Now this time, we don't care what symbol's in front of the y. I know that says addition, but you look at the 5. In front of the 5, is it positive or negative? It's positive. That tells you what operation you're doing. So if it's positive, how do we get rid of a positive 5? You do the negative of it, which is subtracting 5. You already told me, well, Aaron said 5 and y are not like terms earlier. So we're going to subtract 5 over here. So you have negative 22 and negative 5. Make sure you use the negative sign in your calculator, not a minus sign in the calculator, because that will make a difference, right? There's a difference between subtracting something and making something negative. When we do negative 22, subtract 5, what do we get as an answer? Negative 27. This is a good question. Miss Weaver even asked me this question once. When do we know when to use a negative sign and a subtraction sign? How do we know which one to use when? Because we just said they mean the same thing, kind of, right? They help us understand. When do we know the difference or when to use it, Matthew? Yes, when the number is in front, you use a negative sign, or in multiplication. The only other time you use a negative sign is in multiplication. Okay? So when a number is by itself, when there's no operation in front, nothing in front of it, you have to use a negative sign. Yes, it is. Did you use the right signs? Let me see. Let me see. Let me see that. Let me see that calculator. Because you put minus negative 5. Only minus the 5. That's a good question, though. Right? So that's also a good thing. Since this says minus 5, it's either minus 5 or negative 5. It can never be both. Because then you're canceling out what you said. So you basically just said added 5. That's why. So since this just says minus 5, you only need the subtraction sign, not the negative sign. Good question, though. And you spoke up. And I like that because most people be like, oh, well, I'm wrong. Whatever. And just move on and not ask why. And then they keep getting wrong. Good. Practice another one like this. Negatives are what mess us up every time. Okay, how about x plus 6 equals, try another name, negative 36. Again, look at the 6 because that's what the x. Look, it doesn't kind of look like an x. What operation are we going to do to get rid of that 6? Subtraction. Remember, it's subtracting 6 only. We're subtracting a 6. So subtract 6, subtract 6. X equals. Oops, I dropped my lid. So if we did this in our head or we typed it in, depending on our preference. Gracie, what'd you get as an answer? Okay. Negative 42. Do we all get the same answer? Okay. Pretty good. Let's change the operations now. Number 4. C subtract 22 equals 54. Now again, what number is with the variable? Which number is on the same side of the equal sign with the variable? The 22. So look at the 22. What symbol's in front of it? Is it positive or negative? It's negative. So it basically says minus 22. How do we get rid of negative or minus 22? Now we're going to do the opposite. We're going to add now. So now we're going to add 22 to the like terms on both sides of the equal sign. So this one should hopefully be a little easier. No negative signs crazy in here. Crystal, what'd you get as an answer? Did we all get 76? Okay. Okay. Number 5. I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. How about J? Ooh, It'll wake up in just a second. Okay. J subtract 87 equals -3. This feels really easy right now. It's okay. Remember, it will get harder. Not today, but tomorrow. So what am I going to do to get J by itself? By doing what? To both sides. Okay. When you add 87 to both sides, what do you get for an answer for J? I'm asking Peyton. I know. I'm just making sure. Austin looks like he was ready to tell me the answer. 84. Do we all get 84? Because we put the negative with the 3. Okay. One more before we move on to multiplication. Number 6. Oh, I gotta scoot down. How about this guy's a throwback? 27 plus P equals 30. Ooh, barely fit that. Wrote too far over to the right. 27 plus P equals 30. Aaron, what am I going to do to get P by itself? Subtract 27 from both sides. When I subtract 27 from both sides, what do we get as an answer? P equals 3. Who else got P equals 3? Yeah? Okay. Ready to move on to a new operation. I'm going to switch colors so we don't get confused. Okay. Number 7. How about this? 39 equals 3R. 39 equals 3R. Now, when a number and a variable are next to each other, what operation is that, Austin? Multiplication. What is the opposite of multiplication? How do we get rid of multiplying? To divide. So we're going to show, remember we always, in this class and for now on in high school, we use the division line. So we write divide by 3. Do not write the division sign with the dots in the line. So divide by 3, divide by 3. Bonus question. I have a lot of stickers to give out in this class too. What is anything divided by itself? Like what is 3 divided by 3? Aaron? It's 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. Think of it this. If I have three cookies and 3 people to give it to, how many cookies are we all each going to get? 1. Right? Because it's 3 people. Anything divided by itself is always 1, which is why 3 divided by 3, they cancel out to equal 1R. We just always write it as just R. And then we do 39 divided by 3. You can either type that in as a fraction in your calculator or literally type it in with the division thing. It'll still make the same answer. What are we going to get as an answer, Morgan? 13. Okay. Number 8. 75. Negative 75 equals negative 5b. Throwing some negatives in there. Negative 75 equals negative 5b. Again, ask yourself what operation you're using. Do the math. Check your negatives. That one you might need a calculator for. Oop, this is gonna fall asleep. Okay. Hunter, what am I doing on both sides of the equal sign? Huh? Dividing by what? By -5. Make sure you take that negative with the 5. And we divide -75 by 5. What'd you get as an answer? +15. Who else got +15? Anybody accidentally get -15? Remember that rule. Negative divided by negative makes a positive. Don't forget that rule. It's real important. Okay. Now, what if I change it up just a little bit? What if I write this fraction? First off, I would like you to write your fractions top to bottom, not that little diagonal sideways line. Okay? There's a reason for that, especially when these things get bigger. So here's our fraction, x over 8. So please write your fractions top to bottom. No weird diagonal fractions. Equals 3. So what is 8 doing to x? It's dividing it. How do I get rid of x being divided by 8? Multiply it. You do the opposite. Just what we just been doing backwards. You're going to multiply both sides by 8. Dividing by 8, multiplying by 8. These cancel out. You say, hey, what is x equals? What is 3 times 8? Katie? 24. Okay, last one on this side because that's all I'm going to fit. Just like this. Y over 6. I'm going to put a negative sign on the outside of the whole fraction. Equals, oh, bless you. I was distracted. Equals 7. You still want to do this in one step. Can we take that negative sign with that 6 when we get rid of the 6? Do you think we can do that? Yes or no? Yes. The answer is yes. Katie's shaking her head yes. For sure. Make it easier on yourself and do it in one step instead of 2. Again, y is being divided by 6. So you're going to multiply both sides by -6. Get rid of that negative too. Because your final answer should be always positive. So if we multiply both sides by -6, Gage, what do I get as an answer? Yep. Y equals -42. On the bottom and hard to read. Good? Easy? Yes? Okay. Only thing we haven't done is fraction numbers. Let's look at some, okay? How about, this is number 11. Okay. How about 3/5 and then k next to it? So 3/5 k, 3/5 times k equals 6. What is the 3/5 and the k doing with each other when they're right next to each other? Multiplying. So how, even though it's in fraction and it's ugly, right? How do we get rid of it? How do we get rid of 3/5 times k? Yeah, divide both sides by 3/5. That is an option. Perfectly good option. When we type things into our calculator, I would suggest always putting your fractions in what? No. Parentheses. Your answer needs to be in simplest form, but we don't care. Whatever the numbers they give you, Morgan, type that in. Do not ever simplify or round or do anything until the final answer. And this one actually gives you a whole number answer. And if you use that ABC button on your calculator, right, things get a little easier. Does anyone know how else to solve this instead of dividing by a fraction? I only usually ever get it in an honors class for the answer, but every once in a while someone surprises me. So I'm just wondering, does anyone know how instead of dividing by a fraction, because realistically you're not supposed to ever divide by fractions because you usually mess up. What you can do, you can multiply instead by something. Anyone remember? You're just throwing a number out there. It has to do with what we have. No one? It's okay if you don't. It's the way I do it in my head because it's easier. Huh? The number is the number you have. So instead of dividing by this, right, you could divide by 3/5 on both sides. Which that just looks like a bunch of lines and fractions. That gets confusing. Not including the line we have extra on our board for some reason. Instead of doing that, which we're going to get an answer, you can, if I rewrite the problem, I have to write the right problem though. Instead of dividing by that, you can multiply both sides by the opposite of this fraction. What's the opposite, you think, of 5/3? I mean 3/5. I said the wrong answer. I said the answer, 5/3. So technically, instead of dividing by a fraction, you can multiply by its inverse, which is called its flip, basically, because these cancel out. You're left with k still. This whole numbers are great because whole numbers you just do the whole number times the top and then divide it by the bottom. Did that in my head, I got 10. Did you get 10 over here when you divided? One's uglier than the other, but they do the same thing. Okay, let's try when we got lots of fractions. We got to really pay attention to what we're typing in. What if I have negative 1/4 equals 2/3 times b? Oh, that is really good. Negative 1/4 equals 2/3 times b. What are you going to do to get b by itself? It's okay to divide. Remember, we're multiplying by b, so you can divide both sides. Just make sure you separate your fractions with parentheses. If you would like to divide by the fraction, that is completely okay with me. It just takes me longer because I'd have to type it in the calculator. Just make sure when you type this in, use parentheses on both of them. And don't forget that negative sign. It is a fraction answer, ladies and gentlemen. Just to let you know. It is a fraction answer. Hopefully you got a negative fraction answer. Toops, do you get an answer? Anybody else get negative 3/8? That's good, because that's what I got. Did anyone try it with flipping the fraction? Matthew, did it work? Okay. When they're both fractions, that's when flipping the fraction really helps, because you top times top, bottom by bottom, and the answer's right there. Also, if we get an answer, this is just for later. We're going to do practice problems on the board next. If I give you a problem, and this is your answer you get an answer like 3 1/3. Am I going to accept an answer in this form? Do you know on your calculator how to turn this into an improper fraction? Gracie. So if you were in here, so this is, oh, hold on. So if you originally got this, you got the decimal answer, you would push second PRB. That will give you this answer. That's the mixed fraction. No, he's trying to answer something. If we want the improper fraction, what do we push, Matthew? Second ABC, which is that fraction button you always use to make a fraction. If you do that, you will get 10 over 3. Okay, so if you have a decimal answer, you push second and then the PRB button. That'll give you, if it's bigger, it'll give you a mixed number. If it's not bigger, it'll just give you the answer. Okay? If it's in this mixed fraction form, second ABC gives it to improper fractions. It's a little, last class, we talked about it already, but this is just a reminder. And if you ever need help, if you're taking a quiz or anything, and you literally forget how to use the calculator, or on your homework and you're like, I don't know if that's a P or a 9 or whatever, do not be afraid to ask. On one of those word problems on 15 and 16, someone thought it was a 9 because they looked at it quickly, which means their answer was wrong. I mean, it would have been right, but they said 9 instead of Q or whatever it was. Right? So think about that. Okay? Don't be afraid to ask when it's things like that. Calculator questions are 100% okay all the time. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do board practice problems. So I'm going to turn the projector off. We're going to turn the light on. And we're going to do 2 at a time. So no one will be alone. Miss Weave and I will both be here to help you. And we're just going to do practice one-step equations. Okay? You obviously need to wear your mask to go up to the board. Make sure it's fully on, nose and all. When you borrow a marker, if you didn't get your own, when you're done, you will have to wipe. Grab a wipe and clean it. If there's 2 of you up there, you can grab one wipe and share it. It's disinfectant. It'll be fine. Okay? Sound like a plan? This way we'll get some practice in. I'm going to turn this off. I'll come over here. If I can find, there it is.